Hello friends, welcome to One Academy once again. I am Somesh Upadhyay, UPSC rank 34, IS officer in Odisha cadre. And this is second part of the three-part series lecture which explains the meaning of different kind of directives like comment, critically analyze, all these different directives that are very important to understand to write an effective answer and to fetch maximum marks. Why I am telling you this? Because I am someone who left at least 2-3 questions in each paper and still managed a very good marks and very good rank. So it becomes important that whatever you write, you should write specific to the question, then you will get very high marks. So in the first part we have already explained 3-4 different directives. In this part we will learn some more, and there will be a third part of the lecture. So first is analyze and critically analyze. Again, the analyze is that take the idea, whatever idea is or whatever statement is given, take it and then split it apart. Whatever components it is made up of, उसको critically analyze करना है. Any system is made up of multiple components. Any statement is made up of multiple components. So take those components apart one by one and examine the elements that it compromises. Whatever the components are, examine them. Examine का मतलब क्या होता है? You closely inspect them. उसके बारे में all the information that you have, you put that out in the open, and then your answer should be methodically and logically organized, in the sense that there should be a flow to your answer. It cannot be haphazard. So it might be a bit difficult to understand, but simply analyze का मतलब आप क्या समझते हैं? What do you understand by analyze? That is what analyze is. It's not very difficult to understand that to analyze anything, you'll have to break it into multiple components of that thing and then explain each component, and there should be a logical flow. Simple. Now whenever critically is added, again critically means fair judgment, like we learned in the last part of the lecture, which you haven't, if you haven't watched, you should go and watch now. And fair judgment means critically to analyze, to point out the positives and the negatives, supporting and disagreeing arguments, and then come to a conclusion and say why you conclude like that, right? So we will understand it better through examples, previous year questions. Number one, terrorism is emerging as a competitive industry over the last few decades. Analyze the above statement. So this statement, you have to break it into multiple components. What are the components? Number one is terrorism. Number two is emerging, means coming newly. Right now that is the trend. Okay. Number three is competitive industry. Now competitive industry has two parts. One is that terrorism is an industry. Another part is competitive, which means there is competition between different terrorist organizations, right, over the last few decades. So all these different parts you have to actually analyze, and you cannot analyze in separate paragraphs, like terrorism पहले explain किया and competitive पहले explain किया. Not like that. It has to be a flow, but you have to analyze all those parts. So for example, I would write कि after the introduction, start writing why terrorism has become an industry, because it involves a lot of money. It involves capturing different kind of oil resources, and basically the entire tourism activity is to capture big areas in oil resource rich countries and monetize that and use that money to buy arms, and this cycle continues. So this industry is now also competitive because there are multiple terrorist organizations fighting each other in the Middle East. So that part you have to bring out as a competitive part, and it is emerging because this is a new trend. Earlier terrorism was not as much related to capturing economic activities, but now it has become that. So this is what you have to explain in detail with all the supporting examples. That is very important. So that is what analysis is. I hope it is clear to you. Next, let's take question number 2. Again another statement, very profound statement, which you have to analyze. Africa was chopped into states artificially created by accident of European competition. Very good question, and you should be able to answer if you study the NCERT history book of world history, where the idea is that the African tribes, the way they are organized, the boundaries between nations have not been according to the cultural units of Africa. So what Europeans have done, they had competition to capture different parts of Africa, and because of those competitions, these lines were artificially drawn. So you'll see these lines in Africa were all very straight lines and rectangles and all like that. So these are artificial boundaries. These are not naturally conforming to each, you know what the concept of nation is. So it is not conforming to the actual nation or actual single cultural unit. That is why this statement, that is how this statement can be analyzed, and with examples. So again, you are breaking it into multiple parts, that Africa was chopped means what, that it was just randomly divided, okay. And artificially created states, what does artificially created state mean, and why the African states are artificially created states, and why by accident of European competition, because European competition, because there are multiple different European countries competing in Africa, including, for example, the Dutch, the Belgians, the British, of course, the French, all of those people competed, and they sat on a table and divided it. So you have to also bring that historical context, okay. So that is what analysis. Now critically analyze, let's take a question for that. What are the different types of agricultural subsidies given to farmers at the national and state levels? This is one separate question which you'll have to answer. Then critically analyze the agriculture subsidy regime with the reference to distortions created by it. So here comes the critical part, where you have to analyze the subsidy regime that is existing and explain how it is creating distortions, and how that is good or bad or required for the country, or in the long run it is going to hamper the, whatever you believe, whatever you can logically analyze and come to a conclusion. In critically, wherever it is written, you have to come to a conclusion after doing a fair judgment of both positive and negative points, and then you have to justify why you have concluded what you concluded. Clear? Next, we will understand evaluate and critically evaluate. Friends, in this case, both evaluate and critically evaluate mean the same thing. So what are they? It means careful appraisal, stressing both advantages and merits and limitations. So in evaluate, normally what they'll do, they'll give you a very profound sentence which has very deep meaning, which has very deep context, which you have to know. So evaluate means that statement which means so many things, you have to bring out what it means, and then bring out whether it is correct or not, whether that statement is correct or not, depending on the evidences which are either in support of it or in contradiction of it. So you have to carefully appraise both advantages and merit, or limitations and disadvantages of the statement. Give your verdict as to what extent the statement is true, right, or to what extent you agree with them. So you have to provide arguments that support and contradict, and then say the supporting arguments, these are the main arguments that support, and they are stronger than the arguments that contradict. So you take this particular judgment, so you have to justify your conclusion accordingly. For example, question 1, the new economic policy 1921 of Lenin had influenced the policies adopted by India soon after independence. Evaluate. So a very straightforward question from economics, from modern Indian history, and of course it talks about how the Lenin's policies, the new economic policy, was inspirational in formulating the economic policies by India soon after independence. We had socialistic leaning, and we had planning economy. So all these things you have to bring out in your answer, and you will say finally, of course you have to agree, because this is a very straightforward question, because actually new economic policy was inspirational to Nehru and his team, which formulated India's economic policy in the initial years. Fine. Then question number 2, the states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand are reaching the limits of their ecological carrying capacity due to tourism. Now critically evaluate. So here what you have to do is actually you have to tell what was the capacity, what is the actual carrying capacity of Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, how far they can, how many numbers of tourists or footfalls they can actually sustainably adopt, whether that number of footfall has been achieved or has it crossed that limit, or if it is not, has not crossed yet, due to the human behavior it is creating burden on the ecological carrying capacity. So all these different points, different aspects of the statement you can evaluate and then come to a conclusion that whether this statement is correct, do you agree with it or do you not agree with it, fine. So this is what the answer will be for this question. Next, elucidate. This is very straightforward, very easy to understand. Elucidate means making anything lucid, means easy to understand. So it means investigate or inspect very closely and give an opinion on your observation, right? Same as explain but with more examples. It means what? That you have to, there will be one statement given and you have to elucidate. It will have multiple layers of meanings in that statement, and that statement you have to bring out how it actually, what it actually means. You have to make it lucid for the examiner to understand it, right? So question number 1, there is a growing divergence in the relationship between poverty and hunger in India. So see how complex this sentence is, but you have to clearly understand what it means and make it understand in your answer. So here, the growing divergence in the relationship between poverty and hunger. What is the relationship between poverty and hunger? That the poor people are generally also the hungry people. So that relationship now is diverging. The growing divergence means not necessarily only poor people are hungry, even people who have money are falling prey to hunger. Why? The next sentence says the shrinking of social expenditure by the government is forcing the poor to spend more on non-food essential items, squeezing their food budget. So what it is saying basically, that government's social expenditure is shrinking continuously, and that is forcing the poor or the people who have hand-to-mouth existence to spend more on non-food items like healthcare, right, like education. So what is government social expenditure in this kind of things, healthcare, education. So this expenditure, since government is not doing enough and there is a gap in quality, so people have to spend out of their pocket, and that is why their food budget is reducing, and that is why they are going hungry. So this whole thing means this. So you have to investigate this and give your opinion on the observation. You not necessarily have to agree with what they have said here. You can cite example that this is, if the budget is actually growing, you can say that this is actually growing, but you can say that since there was a report that out of pocket expenditure due to health is also increasing 60% of there was one data, so you can cite those data also and say that yes, some out of pocket expenditure is happening and which is reducing the food budget. Or you can also give the NSSO data on how much expenditure on food people are doing compared to their earnings. Okay. Next question. The 1857 uprising was the culmination of the recurrent big and small local rebellions that had occurred in the preceding 100 years of British rule. Elucidate. Now what this is saying, that the 1857 uprising, it was not a sudden event, but it was a final culmination of many big and small local rebellions that had occurred in the preceding 100 years of British rule, which is quite correct, because there are so many small rebellions. If you study the modern Indian history, including in Madras, the Madras regiment has declared rebellion. There were some, basically you have to highlight all the different tribal rebellions that have happened across India before the actual 1857 uprising, and how those small rebellions actually consolidated into this big uprising. But you also to point out that there were certain immediate causes and specific causes for this uprising also. So you may or may not agree. You can say that yes, the small local rebellions had some role to play in the consolidation of the anger against the British, but also the uprising was unique in a way that it had some specific causes and the anger that has happened was at a more elite level, right? Because all these different regional rulers were being dispossessed of their kingdom, and that was also one of the causes, and there were other causes also. So you have to point out those causes, and you have to finally conclude whether you agree completely with this statement, or you agree partially, or you do not agree with it, and what is your observation, and you have to explain with all the different examples, right? So it is basically explain but with more and more examples. Fine. I hope it is clear to you, friends. If it is not clear, please comment. I'll explain it again in different video, and please like this video, comment, share and subscribe One Academy channel. We will be coming up with more and more lectures and high quality lessons for you. Thank you.